Everyone. Good morning. Yeah. How wonderful it is to see all of these smiling faces this morning on this beautiful, actually beautiful Sunday morning. What a beautiful gathering of like-minded friends. So let's begin our gathering with a word of prayer. Sweet, sweet Spirit, we take this moment to gather in our energies so that we may be fully present in this right here, right now moment. Fully present to the promptings of the Holy Spirit in us. Fully present to the music as it speaks directly to our souls. Fully present to the message on prioritizing our spiritual life and practices, and fully present to this season of Lent, when we take time to release that which no longer serves us and renew our spirits. To renew our spirits, let us focus on love as we recognize its power to change lives. The power of love calls us to see from a higher place and to love for the pure joy of seeing and honoring good. So let us use our imaginations to see past any sense of disconnection and instead know we are part of ushering in a new era of peace, kindness, love, and joy. We know that we are divine, so we call on the divinity in us to be our guide, our wayshower. We feel the presence of that Holy Spirit right now within us, in this gathering. And we celebrate its expressing through us, as us. And for this, we are grateful. And so together we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome home. I'm going to ask you all to repeat after me. If you're watching us virtually, please type it in the comments. Everyone look around at your neighbor and repeat after me. Good morning.
Good morning.
I love you this morning. And I sure do appreciate you being here. To our virtual church family, please know we are saying that to you as well. Help us grow this loving community by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to our pages. Let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're watching in. Now let's join me in reading these affirmations together. April affirmations. Just like the spring flowers blooming, I am bright. I am beautiful. I am alive. God is good. Life is good. I am good. And so it is. And now we'll have the call of worship song by Anita.
We're all going to sing it. Everybody stand up, get ready. Get ready. You already know in a minute. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decision? standing at the fork in the road. Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize that I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live the life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize that I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place, clap, clap, held and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Clap and sing. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. You sound great this morning.
Morning. Lent is our time to give up what's not serving our highest good. It's a time to focus on what supports our best life and let go of the rest. From the Unity Release and Let Go, Release and Renew booklet, today's reading is written by Angie Olson, and it's called, I Release Thoughts or Fears of Illness. When I don't feel well physically, it's easy to forget the truth of my well-being, that my body is constantly seeking health, balance, and strength. After a recent bout of pneumonia, I realized that when I get physically sick, my mind plays tricks on me. It's as though a curmudgeon takes hold in my psyche and tells me everything will always be bad forever. Once I realize consciously what is happening, I usually find humor in this voice. Hearing its chatter reminds me to choose my thoughts more intentionally. When we are physically out of balance, it becomes even more important to deliberately calm our minds. With intensive thoughts focused on wellness and harmony, our bodies will connect with and attune to a higher vibration. The scripture reference today is Psalms chapter 73, verse 26. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever.
What a great lead-in to our time of prayer and meditation. But before I do that, I have the privilege and the honor to recognize our guest speaker today, Reverend Catherine Klein. She is going to be leading the meditation as well as giving the lesson. And for those of you who may not know Reverend Catherine and are meeting her today for the first time, let me share a bit about her. So Reverend Catherine was the minister here at Unity in Greensboro from 2004 to 2013. And before us, she served at Unity Church of Christ in Tulsa from 2000 to 2004 and has served as Crystal Coast Unity from 2013 through this year when she retired. And on top of her ministry work, I found out a couple new things. It's always neat getting to read these things. I knew this part. She worked for the George Mason University Conflict Clinic in conflict resolution. But I didn't know this one, that she was also an associate of HeartMath Institute. So thank you for sharing this information. She owned a business consultant company called Inner Solutions, using spiritual principles to solve communications issues. Isn't that a novelty? And yes, and conflict in businesses. She is also trained as a peace worker by Gary Simmons. But her most important title to us here at Unity in Greensboro is family. We welcome you with open arms and open hearts. And now, let us turn our attention to our prayer request. So I am the prayer chaplain on duty today, and we just always like to let you know that no matter what you may be growing through, I and our prayer chaplains, Anita and Kathy and Nana, are honored to pray with you. And to be included on our prayer list or to ask for private prayer, you can contact us by filling out a prayer request, which is on that back table, and putting it in the box. Through the Unity website, there's a link at the top that says prayer request. There's a weekly newsletter that goes out, and there's a link there again. And you can, all else fails, you can email us to prayersfromuig@gmail.com. And also, at any time, please let us know if you would like to include names on our public prayer list. So we have the private prayer list and the public prayer list. And private are the ones that go in here or that you say are private. But the public are the ones that we then pray for together as a group. So let us now take the time to say those prayers, because we know that prayer works. So for a moment now, let us take the time and let the names of the people for whom you specifically would like prayers to surface. Then imagine yourself dropping their names into the prayer box. I invite you to hold your loved ones in prayer along with the people in our prayer box and on our prayer list today. Barbara Slatt. Families of Ukraine. Dawn Dowd. Donis Kravik. Davis Amos. Herbert Boyd. And Marilyn Garcia. Together, we affirm that these loved ones are whole, perfect, and complete. We are standing with them knowing that God is already actively working in partnership with each person to grow through the appearance of challenges. So from this place of truth, this realization of everyone's innate perfection, we hold the intention of wholeness for those on our prayer list today and for ourselves, our loved ones, our city, our state, our country, our world. We are filled with deep gratitude for that God presence within us, knowing that in all moments, in every place, that presence is with us and loves us unconditionally. We are truly blessed. May we feel deep within our souls peace and goodwill towards all people and all situations, in the sure knowledge that wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of
What a blessing. What a blessing it is to gather together here this morning and to join in a time of meditation and prayer. And so it's in gratitude that we allow ourselves to simply relax and breathe. As our minds become still, we enter into the holy chamber of the heart, seeking conscious communion with our God. We come quietly, with a spirit of reverence and awe and humility, together, simply sitting in the conscious awareness of God's presence. In this place, there is calm and confidence and the certainty that no matter the appearances, all is truly well. Our brother Jesus taught us, and he said, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, but as I give." Here he is speaking about the peace of the inner Christ, the Spirit of the living God, breathing, expressing, living as you and me. So feeling safe and surrounded in love, we allow ourselves to let go of the concerns of the day. The world's noise fades into the background and the inner voice begins to speak. And the quiet voice of the Christ mind chants, peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit, peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit, again and again in the silence. Slowly and gently now, we allow our attention to return to this physical time and space. As we do, we sense our mantra continuing in the background. Peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit, bringing all the comfort and strength we need to embrace the days and nights ahead. May this be the unceasing prayer of our hearts. For it, we are deeply grateful, and so it is. Amen.
You're all invited to join in the song. It's in every one of us. We'll start at the beginning. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart and open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart and open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing what. It's in every one of us, by and by.
This is one of my favorite songs. I really appreciate
Do you want me to do I Hear a Call first?
You're going to do another song now?
I Hear a Call?
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Catherine picked this song out, y'all. And I had to wear my cowgirl boots because
She
it's
did.
Emmylou Harris, okay? And it's from a CD called A Cowgirl's Prayer. So I got my boots on. I'm ready. If you can't see them, you have missed something, okay? I hear a call now that I Now will I follow, fill up this life that grows more hollow, make joy reside where there lives sorrow. I see a light, now will I follow. I hear a call from out of nowhere, and from everywhere I go, I hear a call, now will I answer. I feel a touch, now will I hold on, be there with love for those with no one, with the kindness such it gives though I'm gone. I feel a touch, now will I hold on. I hear a call from out of nowhere, and from everywhere I go, I see a light, now will I follow. I feel a touch, now will I hold on. I hear a call, now will I answer. Thank you.
You guys pick up real quick, I gotta say. You're quick learners. So good morning again. Today I want to offer some of my thoughts about one of Jesus' most poignant teachings, the parable of the great banquet. You know that Jesus was a mystic, don't you? Right. By this we mean that his way of seeing the world was metaphysical, that is beyond the physical. And so he often conveyed deep spiritual ideas through everyday stories, and those are called parables. This of itself is a message for us, I think, that once we've grown beyond our literal way of thinking and seeing, we will be able to notice that our own just everyday experiences contain a powerful spiritual lesson. We all have parables to share. So this is the 5th Sunday of Lent, and the events of Holy Week are just around the corner. Seen in this context, today's parable carries a felt sense of urgency. You see, the tension is mounting for Jesus. The Pharisees are building their case against him. They hang around wherever he is teaching and take every opportunity to trick him into saying something that is a violation of the law so that they can justify having him arrested. You see, Jesus came with a revolutionary message: the spiritual equality of all people. And this did not sit well with the Jewish hierarchy at all. They treasured the idea that the Jews were God's chosen people, and that only the temple elite were qualified to discern and teach truth. They believed in a strict, literal interpretation of the Torah, and thought Jesus' liberal use of metaphor left way too much latitude for the average Jew to discern its meaning for themselves. As if this wasn't enough, Jesus taught that God is everywhere, not just in the temple, which could cut down on the collections taken at the temple. He also taught that love, not rigid adherence to the law, is the greatest commandment. The Pharisees were seriously threatened by this message, especially since this heretic was becoming more and more and more popular. Jesus knew his days on this planet were numbered. He had been saying things to his apostles like, "My time is at hand." He seems impatient with them and worried about whether they understand his teachings deeply enough to carry on without him. They still keep trying to make him their Lord and Master, and he has to repeat over and over and over again, "Why do you call me great? No one is great but the Father." Jesus had not come so people would be dependent on him, a lesson that much of the world still has not learned. He had come to empower them, to teach us all that all things are possible through God alone. So that's the context for the parable. Now I'm going to paraphrase from the story. It's in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14. There was this man who once gave a great banquet and invited many, many people. At the time for the banquet, he sent his servant out to those who had been invited and said, "Come on in, the banquet is ready." But they all began to make excuses. The first one said, "I have bought a field, and I must go out and inspect it. I pray you excuse me." And another said, "I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I must go to check them out. I pray you excuse me." And another said, "I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come." So the servant went and reported this to the master. Then the master, in anger, said to the servant, "Go out in the streets and lanes of the city and bring in the poor and the lame and the maimed and the sick." Soon the servant returned and said, "Sir, what you have commanded has been done, and still there's room in the house." And the master said to his servant, "Go out to the highways and byways then, and compel people to come in, that my house may be filled." So let's begin with the metaphysical meaning of a couple of the key words. First, the word master. This refers to the Christ within us all, our Christ consciousness, that higher authority within us. The banquet speaks of the vast feast for the soul that comes of living in the Spirit. A banquet, after all, is all about food, nourishment that is ingested, digested, and made part of ourselves. The invitation in this story is to take in Jesus' teachings in much the same way we would eat a great feast. We are to incorporate them into our being until they become second nature, the very fabric of our soul. And what are these core teachings? What is this soul food? That the kingdom of God is within each one of us. That our deepest, truest nature is of God. And that at the level of essence, we are all one with God. You see, everyone is invited to eat this life-giving banquet. Yet sadly, many fail to show up for the feast because they don't really understand its importance. Deep down, we still think we are physical beings who have an occasional spiritual experience. We don't prioritize things of the Spirit because we haven't fully integrated that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. While bread may nourish the body, only spiritual truth breathes life into it. Most of us have a hard time grasping at the level of the soul that material things can never, will never satisfy our deepest hunger, because fundamentally we are not material. We are spirits expressing for a relatively short time, mind you, in physical form. The parable runs through the excuses people give for not coming to the banquet. It tells us that one person had to check on his property. Property stands for all material possessions. Another had to go check on his wealth. Oxen represent wealth in those days. And another had just gotten married. Marriage stands for sex and family relationships. The siren songs of today's world are much the same, are they not? Add to this list social media and the 24-hour news cycle that keeps us all distracted most of the time. And for many of us, it's career or work with all the perks that come with it that is our highest priority. We think it is the source of our good. Why? Because deep down, we still think we are only human, that our value is measured by what we have and what we do. And so, of course, we suffer. We continue to suffer and cause other people to suffer. You see, our egos are easily intoxicated with this dream called self-sufficiency. Nowhere is this more obvious than our obsession with physical wellness these days. We spend a fortune on supplements. Drink only bottled water, eat only organic foods, exercise until we nearly drop, take God knows how many prescription drugs, all in an effort to keep our bodies from getting sick. You see, we think we can control our health. Some even see illness as a personal failure, all of the while forgetting that it is the spirit that gives life to the body. If our spirit is starving, our bodies will wither no matter how careful we are. God knows this is not the message we receive from the material world that focuses solely on outer appearances. When was the last time you went to see the doctor with an ailment and he or she asked you how you were doing emotionally or what your spiritual practices are? We get especially confused when it comes to our close relationships. Surely they are more important than anything else in the world, right? We parents can easily become so obsessed with the needs of our children that we fail to tend to our own spiritual care. We forget that we can't give what we don't have. And let a man or a woman fall in love and just watch how quickly his spiritual practice gets pushed into the background. We who have been so faithful become willing to give up our Sunday time of community and connection. It's almost a cliche, really, for ministers. If someone suddenly stops coming to church, the first thing we wonder is, they must be in a new relationship. I have an old friend who left Unity after many years to attend an Assembly of God church because that's where her new boyfriend went. Would you mind telling me how a person makes that shift? When we forget that God is our source and truth is the food that gives life to our spirit and our bodies, it's really easy to be seduced by wealth, success, and romance, is it not? In case you're not much into the Bible, I want to offer this archetypal story from one of my favorite teachers, this master mythologist named Angeles Arians. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of her. The story itself happens to be about a woman, but I don't think you men will have any trouble identifying. It's pretty universal. So it seems that there's this woman who has finally come into her own. She's devoted to her spiritual life, meditates every day. She's active in her church where she feels accepted and loved. She has wonderful friends, makes good money doing work that she really loves, and has recently moved into a beautiful new home. Finally, she is feeling confident and comfortable in her own skin, and deeply grateful, for she knows that God is the source of all her abundance. She's so grateful, in fact, that she decides to throw a party to celebrate and invite all the dear friends who have supported her along her journey. Well, she plans this party really carefully, and it turns out to be terrific. Everyone is there. Everyone she knows and loves shows up to share in her joy. And she is thinking, standing there looking around, and she's thinking, man, life does not get any better than this. Then there is a knock at the door. Who can it be? Everyone she loves is already here at the party. Our heroine opens the door, and there stands a tall, dark stranger who says, I was passing by and heard the music, and the party sounds great. Can't I come in? She pauses. After all, she doesn't even know him, and he's had absolutely nothing with making her life so prosperous. He doesn't fit in at all, but man, is he adorable. And then in one defining second, she decides to let him in. You are so beautiful, he says. Won't you dance with me? Again, she hesitates. My heavens, she doesn't even know his name. But her heart is just fluttering away. Okay, she says. And oh my goodness, the feel of his arms around her, the very smell of him. Such a beautiful man, and he wants her. This must be a dream, right? So I want to pause for a minute and ask if there's anybody else here who's ever walked down that particular jungle path with me. All right, just wondering. Meanwhile, what are her friends doing? Well, they're oohing and eyeing and whispering to one another, who is he? Oh my goodness, he's so cute. They look great together. In other words, they're no help whatsoever. In fact, they are egging her on, just as caught up in the dream as she is. Pretty soon, the tall, dark stranger whispers in her ear, how would you like to get out of here for a little while and be alone? Oh, I couldn't do that, she says. My best friends are here and have come to celebrate with me, and I couldn't. And he says, oh, don't worry. I'll have you back so quickly they'll never even know you're gone. Once again, there is a moment of hesitation. A little voice inside of her tells her to stay with her friends. This man is a stranger. But then what does she say? Oh, why not? And so they slip quietly out the back door. Now, I'm sure you need no help metaphysically interpreting this back door escape from reality. Am I right? He takes her to his shiny black sports car, and off they go to his great big mansion on the hill. And oh my, she thinks he must be so wealthy, and she follows him up the stairs to the front door. Please come in, he says, and with no hesitation at all, she goes in. You see, the little voice inside her has gone completely silent. Inside, he immediately pours her a glass of expensive wine, turns on his magnificent sound system, and asks her to dance, and she moves eagerly into his arms. But wait, something is off. Somehow, she can't seem to get in step with this music. It seems out of sync with her natural rhythm. It sounds strange to her ears, and she can't get entirely comfortable in his arms. She's starting to want to go home. But he says, don't you just love this music? It's my favorite. Yes, she says, it's very nice. And so they dance and dance and dance far into the night, even though she never does grow to like the music. Even though the rhythm never feels natural to her, even though she misses her own music and her own home and her old friends. So I'm guessing you get the picture, right? This is what it's like to be swept away. We've all been there, seduced by some siren song or the other, thinking that greater happiness lies somewhere else, with someone else, in anything and everything outside of us. You see, the ego is continually vulnerable to people, places, and things that are shiny and new, that make it feel special, smart, successful, and beautiful. We can get so swept away that we no longer can hear the quiet voice of our own wisdom. Well, that's what happened to the invited guest who did not come to the master's banquet. They had more important things to do. They had urgent matters to tend to. So what does the master do? He tells the servants to go out on the highways and byways and get the sick, blind, afflicted, and lame. Perhaps they will not have so many important matters to attend to that they will refuse the invitation. Perhaps life's hardships have pared down their ego just a bit. How many of us, I'd actually like to see hands, began our spiritual search because we were in pain? Come on now. We may have achieved many of the material goals we set for ourselves, only to end up feeling empty inside. The religion of our childhood no longer makes sense to us. The relationship that we staked our happiness on has grown cold. Our children have grown and left. The company we gave our soul to has rejected us. The affairs of the world have left us feeling powerless, discouraged, and broken. Tell me I'm not alone. Feel it. Our egos are bruised and battered. At last, we can hear our spirit calling, "Is it time now? Will you come home now?" Where there is nothing against you, where there is something real and true and lasting that will never abandon you? Do we have to be beaten down to surrender our resistance? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe we have to get swept away again and again and experience the excruciating pain of disillusionment before we are ready to come humbly to the table. No matter what our path has been, the metaphysical message is the same. How vitally important it is to nourish our soul and spirit, to stay faithful to our daily practice and connected to our spiritual community, not because our meditations are always peaceful, and not because church services and classes are always wonderful, but because showing up demonstrates our priorities and anchors what is most lasting and important. From the perspective of a 77-year-old, I have to tell you, everything else will eventually let us down. Everything else will leave us restless and casting about for more intoxicating diversions. So the master tells his servant, "Go out and compel the people to come to my house and be filled," so that it may be filled. I don't think Jesus was up to strong-arm tactics with this, do you? I think the story is telling us that we might as well go ahead and surrender, because you know what? The Christ within us, the spiritual heart within us, will never let us go. Our capital S self, as we used to say in Unity, is always whispering, "Grow, grow, grow." Whether you're 15 or 25 or 50 or 70 or 80 or 90, grow. And it will draw to us whatever it takes to reduce our ego and turn us toward truth. Trust me on that one. Some of you may remember a very small book called The Little Prince. Here he is up here. See him? It's supposed to be a children's story, but believe me, it is not only a children's story. If you've never read it, I found out you can just download it from the internet now. Well, it seems that the little prince had come to Earth from another planet, and he's trying to make sense of what he sees. God help us. He travels all around, and finally he meets up with a fox. And from the fox, he learns what it is to have a true friend. In fact, the fox invites him to tame him. When the time comes for the little prince to travel on, he comes to say goodbye to his fox. "Goodbye," he says. "Goodbye," said the fox. "But first, I have a secret to tell you. A very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." What is essential is invisible to the eye, the little prince repeated, so he would be sure to remember. God bless you all. Good to be here.
Thank you for that powerful message. You're being swept away. So UIG has fast, easy, and secure ways to tithe. One way is to text GIVE to 336-600-1064 and follow the prompts. Or to go through the donate link on the UIG website or Facebook page. So now is the opportunity to give, whether you're texting, clicking the donate button, or giving now in person. So let's pray together. Sure.
If everyone would join me in our offertory blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. So as the basket, I'll take that. Remember. So as the basket is going around, let us take a moment of quiet again to tune into our heart spaces and experience our many blessings. And from this place of appreciation and joy, we turn our attention to the gifts we joyfully offer in support of our ministry. A ministry that serves us, a ministry that nourishes us, a ministry we take joy in supporting with our time, talent, and treasure. Just stand down here, both of you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So we bless this ministry. We see it growing and reaching out, touching others with its powerful message of oneness, unity, and love. We lift our hands and infuse this love offering with energy, gratitude, and love, and dedicate it to our awakening and the awakening of all humankind. Together, we transform our lives and co-create a prosperous spiritual community that blesses the world. And so it is. Amen.
And now we have a few announcements. If you're a first-time visitor or haven't been here in a long time, please raise your hand. We have a gift for you. No hands today. Is there one? Oh, good. welcome back. There is a visitor connection card and pen in your bag, and we'd love it if you'd fill that out and give it to one of the ushers at the end of the service. The nominating committee is now accepting applications to join our board of trustees. So email info@unityingreensboro.org or ask our handsome Bobby Reebok, who's running the camera. Look at that smile. Maria Mata or Chip Roth, who's right here in the back. Raise your hand, Chip, if you have any questions or would like an application. So the 2022 UIG congregant membership form, ask the ushers for one to fill out or click the congregant link in the Tuesday e-blast. This is the last Sunday that you can fill one out. And I left it sitting at my chair. I was going to show it to you or give it to you. Just like Gayla did. Good job, Gayla. That's what it looks like. So please fill it out today. The UIG annual meeting will be held next Sunday after service, so we need all the forms turned in as soon as possible to help us organize things. There's a second chance for Bill Johnson's free workshop on Saturday, April 23rd from 9 to noon. Find your way to a better you and a better life is his topic. If you'd like to attend this free workshop, send a note to Bill Johnson. I laugh every time I see that's my brother's name. I promise you he's not doing the seminar. Bill Johnson at WHJohnSO. So that's WHJOHNSO at uncg.edu to let him know that you plan to attend. If you have any questions or comments, you can also email him there. Now, there are sign-up sheets in the back for April Wednesdays, which include the One This Blessing, led by Sarah Henning, April 6th. Purposeful Living with Reverend Wally, April 13th. Practice Letting Go using the Enneagram. This is an Enneagram-based meditation led by Charlotte on April 20th. The authors of the book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram, discover that each station of the Enneagram can be used in helping us let go of something that no longer serves us. That sounds exciting. And Reverend Wally wants me to announce that all drummers out there? Good. Are asked to bring your drum next Sunday for the joyful visiting from 9:45 to 10. That will be our music then. Okay? So be sure to bring that. Yep. And the last Wednesday program is, the name of it is, it's working with One Brain, and it's including some muscle testing, and it's a fabulous, well, it's way more than that. She's phenomenal. So sign up for that back there too. And now we have another special song by our own Anita.
Before we all sing together, I'd like to introduce our musicians today. We have the incredible John Trotta and the awesome Neil Clegg. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. You will do amazing things with the choice each new day.
Catherine, you want to close us out?
So as service comes to a close today, we offer this benediction to one another. May the wisdom and the spirit of the divine go with you every place you go. May you carry such a light that people cannot fail to be uplifted in your presence. And may you notice all the abundance, all the beauty that surrounds you. Go from this place today and be what it means to be a unity person walking through the world. And so it is.
Everybody stand up and let's sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. When God has created family let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Yay. Thank you, guys. Love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, love is, peace is, light is, God is, and all is well.